What's up, gang? Here goes. I think someone said last week I looked like a Force ghost, and I think that's about right. My name is CJ Reynolds. This is Sunday Night Teacher Talk, and I am indeed not a Force ghost. I am a real human being. I taught for 17 years, and now my mission is to help as many teachers as I can be the teachers that they are called to be. And so part of that is that we meet up here on Sundays. We meet up here to create a safe space for teachers to explore and express how they're thinking, how they're feeling, and what's going on inside and outside of their classroom so that they can show up tomorrow morning and be who their students need them to be. So we take questions. There's a whole chat going on in the chat. That was redundant. But yeah, it's me and my not so secret wife next to me. And so if you have a question, you can put it right in the question section, and that would be awesome. I am thinking, so first of all, the Force Ghost thing, that, like, if you're watching this and you're not just listening to it on the podcast, which is available everywhere podcasts are available, we are redoing our studio, and so I am now up here in my bedroom. And
well, you can actually, it's not just redoing the studio, but you can answer John Lopez's question. He said, how is the leak in the basement? It actually wasn't the basement. It was in our studio. We had a leaky roof for a long time, and that's all fixed. The leak is fixed.
Yes.
But
looks incredible.
The roof was damaged, or the ceiling was damaged in our office/laundry room. So that got repaired, which, man, spackle dust. Oh, hate it. It's the worst.
It is. It gets everywhere. So we've been living with a dining room full of other stuff for a couple weeks now. So that is completely redone and is getting finished today. Like all the stuff getting put in there. So we'll be back in regular studio next week, which I'm stoked about. Feels a little bit like when you're setting up your class. Oh, the dog's trying to eat someone downstairs. Speaking of, I think our
guy's here to
working
help us.
guy is here. So, yeah. So it's just like when you finally get your classroom to that place, and the difference with this is I'm not on a time. Well, I mean, I sort of am. I'm not on a time crunch like a teacher would be.
Yeah.
Like where you're doing. I mean, that's not completely true.
No, we're on a time limit because you want to tell people what's happening.
So tomorrow, Kansas State University is coming out. They are working in conjunction with PBS, and they are making a documentary about the current state of education. They're looking for hopeful cases in the state of education, like drawing a clear picture of like what's kind of going on in education, but like what is happening in the world that some people might not know about, where people are trying to bring hope to education. And so I was asked to be a part of that documentary. So tomorrow night, these folks are going to show up. They're going to film at home. They're going to film Philly, all over the place. Shot list. Yeah.
It's not a shot list,
so
sorry.
It is very, very exciting. So this summer, there will be a documentary out with me as part of it. It's me, the Secretary of Education, and a few other teachers that are doing like very specific things. But my piece is about how we created this online thing and are using it. Even though some of these, I look a little bit.
Half your head is showing. I love it. This is so funny. We're in transition.
Anyway, any questions?
No.
Cool. It's fine. Because we're under a deadline, we can only stay on for part of the time this week. And I don't usually do that. And I don't like doing that, like giving my full attention.
It was either not show up at all for Sunday Night Teacher Talk this week, or it was to try and do an abbreviated version today. So we're going to hear for 30 minutes, and we hope we can, answer any questions that anybody has about education or life or, I don't know, anything else. So fire away if you got anything.
Yeah. I think...
I just want to note Maisha's here. Hi, Maisha. I'm so glad you have off today to join in.
No, rainy day at Office Depot. I don't know if that would be busy or not busy. Everywhere we go when it's raining is busy.
I feel like everybody wants to shop it's either that you shop or you stay home.
Yeah. Yeah. We were at IKEA today. We've been at IKEA and Home Depot a lot. And
yes, holy smokes. I feel like we've lived there.
Yeah. It's bad when you see someone in the store and they go back again. It's like, oh man, he's called me out on my business. So here's a question that someone posed to me this week in a training that I was a part of. And I just thought this was a good question it's a good question for me to ask people, but it's also, I think, a good question for all of us to ask ourselves, especially when we're working with young people and we're trying to help other teachers here's the question. What are you innately good at that other people have to work for? And that really hit me because when I think about like how I handle certain situations, sometimes it can come off as me saying something like, well, if someone comes to me for help and they're having a problem with a student or a lesson or engagement or something that I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to help with. And I just, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, all you have to do is, right? Like whenever an answer starts with, well, all you have to do is, that is probably a pretty good sign that this is something that comes easy for me, either because it's like a talent that I have, or it's something that I've acquired over time, like a skill I've acquired over time. But I just thought that was it was such a good idea, and it's such a good reminder to me, because not everyone is where you are, and everyone's kind of good at their own thing, but no one's good at everything. And yeah, so, and they talked about that too, that kind of like this specific ability to like be good at everything, where you are kind of like the guy explained it, like if you think of a Swiss Army knife, it has a lot of tools and they're all useful. Even the tweezers and the toothpick, if you have that Swiss Army knife, but none of them are the best at what they do. Like the little saw's good in a pinch, but like it's not the best saw I ever used in my life. It's not the best knife. It's not the best anything. But it is pretty good at a lot of stuff. So yeah.
All right, are you ready? Linda is up
Hit me.
first with a question asking, what was your worst fear when you were teaching? Mine is that I'll lose it in front of my students.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a
pretty common one, I would imagine, is
yes.
losing it.
I have had to try not to lose it in front of my students in a bunch of different ways. Like either emotional, something's going on at home, something triggers me and I just want to like lose it with anger. I think it was that no one would listen to me, that I would just be in class. I would assign something. I'd talk to someone. I'd try to get attention. I'd try to get kids to go along on this journey with me to go through something, and that none of it would work. And that was terrifying to me, because if you can't get kids to kind of go along with what you're doing, then it doesn't matter how great your lesson is. No one cares how long you spent on it. No one cares the effort that you put into it. And so what I found was that kids did listen to me. Not everyone and not all the time. Like I'm not trying to say that like it was just like good from the jump. What I'm saying is that if I said, hey, everyone, can you take out your notebook? And at least at the beginning of the year, I was like, oh, man, people took out notebooks. Like it was almost like what else can this voice do? And like,
I think that's especially true, like if you aren't a parent yet, or you choose to not have children or whatever, because it's like, are kids going to listen? I feel like that was just even a general fear for me as a parent, like going into like before I became a mom, of like, what if my kids don't listen to me? Like, what if I can't get them to like do what I need to do or behave? I don't know. It's a weird one, but that was a fear for me.
This doesn't directly correlate with that, but I would say, you know what that makes me, I was telling you about this week. I heard a quote that said something to the effect of like, no one cares if you did your best. Like, don't forget about doing your best. Do what's necessary. And that to me was another quote that just like it hit me in a different kind of way. And I don't want to get down on their best, right? Like doing your best is important, but sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes you have to do what's necessary. And so here's what I mean by that. Like, because I think this is it. You can do your best, right? But that might not be enough. And that doesn't mean that you're not enough. What it means is that you have to grow into that next version of you to be able to do the work that needs to be done. And so when I think about my kids growing up, my own children that we made, I don't know why I said that so weird, but you know, my kids that I made, it was hard work. But now, I mean, Brody's 15, going to be 16 in July. Marley's 13. And we have really good kids. And I don't say that as like kind of a humble brag or anything. It is just like, because I think it's I think it's a mixture, but we put hard work into our kids, and not just our best. It was above and beyond. Like when y'all, like if you have kids, like getting up in the middle of the night, not parenting from a seat, but like saying like, don't make me come over there. It's like, actually, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go have the conversation. I'm going to sit here and talk to you. Never, and I'm not going against anyone's parenting style, but like we never spanked our kids. It was always have the conversation with our kids, always have to talk with it. It was like the Brady moments over and over and over again. It's like where, like sad music comes on, inspiring music comes on. You have to sit down, have a little talk with little Brody. And so it was a lot of work. And I think school's no different. You could be doing your best, but are you doing what's necessary? And if you are doing your best and it's not there, it again doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, that you're broken or that you're not good enough. It just means you have to keep working on you so that you can become the teacher that needs to be in the classroom.
All right. Mrs. J's Kid Vids is up next. How do you work with parents who just can't hear the truth, even when it's spoken in truth and love?
I think, I don't know that there is anything all the time that you can do. And let me release you from that, because sometimes parents, and I think it's in my experience, it has been parents that have been through something or are going through something, and they just can't, don't put one more thing on me. It's all on me, right? So when I'm talking to a single mom with a number of kids, and they're all different ages, and maybe dad's not around, and you just came into this thing, and you just came from parents with especially moms that were nurses and things of that nature. They would leave on lunch, run to the school, do a conference, and then I got to talk to you about your kid and how they're not doing well, and here's all the things that we did. It's almost like some parents can't take any more. So I don't even need all that. It's you guys messed up. It's your fault. And so when a parent can't hear you, there's something else kind of going on. I feel like when that relationship, and look, this is another one of those things that just takes time. If necessary, you don't not have to have a deep and meaningful relationship with every single parent of every kid that you teach. That's just it's not even doable. And not even every parent needs it. Not every parent wants it. But for those special parent, in this particular situation, sometimes it helps to just build that conversation. And so I made a video recently that it went up weird. It has no views. I hope everyone can find it. It's under if you see where our videos are and the playlists and stuff at the top of our video or channel, if you hit lives, it went up. It's weird, but it's called Parent Conferences. And in the parent conference video, this can be used with any conference. This is just it could be just phone calls home. It is having a conversation with parents that is not putting anything else on them. It is letting them know how you are going to show up and what's available for their child should they need it. Not you're failing and you have to come after school. It's hey, look, here's where I'm noticing where your student is right now. There are things we can do to help your child out. And no, here's the menu of things that we can do. And I literally have created a menu before. I have it looks like a diner menu of here's all the things that you can do. So that it's a little bit even less off-putting, instead of a list of what can look like consequences, come after school, get extra help, all the things. It's here's what I'm available for. Here's how I want to help your kid. Here's where I think that they can get to. And so it's creating a positive spin on some of those things to help parents out. And I think that helps. If that doesn't work, it's really, I think, sometimes bringing in administration or looking for is there someone that's on your team that already connects with that parent that would be able to help you out in that scenario, and that could work as well.
Laura in the comments had a great comment about this. Nice. She said parents are sometimes reliving their own negative experience, with school. So, right, if you have someone who had a really bad negative experience and some trauma from their own school journey, I feel like that could definitely.
That's a good point, right?
It's really good, because I am totally that person.
That's what I was going to talk. Well, right, but not even just us growing up.
No, I have my own trauma from dealing with trying to get my son adequate resources, and there was a really terrible superintendent at that time and a really terrible the director of special education. They just wouldn't work with us on any level. And it caused like, I have like lawyer-esque sounding emails to people. Like I tried to like do all the things to get help for my kid.
Yep.
And it caused a lot of trauma for me that when our kids were then homeschooled for 3 years, and our daughter went back into the public school system this year in the same district, I told CJ, I'm like, no, you've got to do it. I said, I can't do it. Like, it literally just triggers me. Like, and I kind of have this same like bitey attitude with school, but yeah. So
it's that old people are fighting a battle that you may know nothing about.
Exactly. All right. Kyle's up next asking, what are some underrated ways for teachers to make money during the summer, especially options that are your usual retail summer salesman? Maybe, I don't know if I'm supposed to say not the usual options.
Yeah. So I think one of the,
let's give both.
Yeah. So I have done tutoring. I used to work for this place called, I don't even know if it's around anymore. It was called Excel Academy. And man, it was tutoring in the summer. Back then, it was like $30 an hour or something like that. Something like that at that time was like, what? Like, this is what I made teaching. This is so ridiculous. Or maybe it was more than I made teaching. It was scripted lesson plans. It was all kids that were going to do well anyway. Like, they'd go home and read the whole book. Yeah. Right. And so it was cake. And I really loved it. These kids were super sweet. I had a great time in the summer doing that. So that was one thing. But I'll tell you what, I could speak to this as well. So I worked at Home Depot in the summer a lot of times, and I really enjoyed it. The older I've gotten, the more I like really good customer service, and I like providing really good customer service. And so having something that was so drastically different than what I did was really nice as well. So I've done everything in the summer, like every conceivable job that I could think of, from like, I never waited tables or bartended, but I feel like that's one that folks do a lot. But it's like, I needed a break from kids to be able to rejuvenate myself, to be able to show back up and do something. So like working at a store felt good because someone would say, where is a product, or how do I do this, or how do I lay this particular type of flooring, which I know all about. And it was like, I could walk them through the steps. They were a willing participant and they wanted to learn. And I'd walk them through it. The next time they come in, they're like, oh, yo, Reynolds, I did the ceramic floor and it came out so great. Like, and that felt really good to me. And it was a different kind of job. I think, though, like, so it's also like, well, are you working to just make a little bit of money, or are you trying to like make a little bit of bank? Because if you're doing that, I think something like having potentially like selling resources, working teachers pay teachers, mentoring teachers, working for a company like, who did we just almost do a thing?
Or there's so many like teacherpreneurs like anymore. It's really seeing if you can get in with, there's just so many teacherpreneurs. And I think if you can get in with someone that even already has a business, but you lend yourself to the knowledge of their business and to the skill of their business, because most teachers are pretty tech savvy, I think. Well, at least in my mind.
I mean, look, we hire people all the time to do stuff for us that we don't know how to do.
So I think that's a really great avenue that's not tapped into a whole lot. Like, those teacherpreneurs are just using who they already know, but I don't know. I think that that's a really great avenue, because you can make a bit more money probably than you would work retail and things like that. And it could potentially be under the table. Who knows? Like some little things like that.
The law's not listening. You're going to get us arrested.
I know. Someone in the comments said that Uber driver, like, they knew a few teachers that
I know people that started doing that friggin' love it.
I would love it, because I love talking to people. Really? I love hearing their stories. Like, I get made fun of by my whole family everywhere.
We're like waiting at the Starbucks in front of at Target, like, oh my gosh, when is mom going to stop talking to the cash register?
Like, I like being friendly. But I think that that's could be a great fit for people.
Facts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're looking at me for another question.
I am.
All right. John is up next asking.
I'm just also looking at you because I love you.
Oh, thank you. If you could go back in time and change or modify trends in education, which ones would they be and why?
Oh, John, I think I would reimagine the education system entirely, because I think that once we started looking at like how Henry Ford was making cars, and then we said we should make an education system about this. Or even before that, what did we hear? Where did education go? Started like I don't know.
Oh, we watched it. Yeah,
maybe we shouldn't. If we don't know it well enough, it's not really worth going into.
It's
but
not,
I'm going to do it.
I want to remember what that was.
I definitely want to do a video on that.
Watch it.
But I think this idea of, I said it in a video last week that I heard someone say the first two things that we can do as human beings is walk and talk, right? Arguably, like those first two things that you learn. But then when you go to school, what are the first two things that they tell you to do? Is sit down and shut up. And I thought that was so profound because it's this idea of it's this stripping away of wonder. And I think wonder is such an incredibly important part of education that, a lot of folks in a lot of educators have stripped away from classrooms, and we've taken away that ability, that autonomy to see like what are kids interested in, how can we do this, and I wonder if this would work. And I just think if we taught kids to ask interesting questions and solve interesting problems, that would be a whole lot. It would be so much more beneficial for young people. But the hard thing is like kids get indoctrinated so quickly that when you're in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade and someone tells you to do a project, you're already half-assed mailing it in. You're just kind of doing it. And so that is so sad to me because, when I think about when I educate my own children, it's, Dad, do you think that you could build a boat? Yeah, I think you could build a boat. I'll bet you I could do it out of one piece of plywood. What? And then they built a boat with me, and then we sailed it in the Delaware River down the street from my house. It's like doing things like that. Dad, do you think we could do this? Do you think we could try this? It's doing those sorts of things so that we can snap.
I'm going to go around. But this is not necessarily a question, but I think you should.
Okay, cool. Sorry that we're having battery issues here. So I think that that's it, John. It's the absence of wonder. And I'm not even going to say in every single class, because I think that there are definitely classes where people are doing that and things that are happening. Like I remember you telling me about how your students build kites and stuff like that. I just think it's remarkable. All right. So while my wife is out of the room, I'm going to try and do this myself. Linda is saying that my wife said this wasn't a question, but I should address it. I was burned out just before spring break, and spring break helped me recover a tiny bit, but now I'm on the brink of burnout again. Linda, I think when we are on the brink of burnout, we have to remember one, that I'm going to say it like this. I don't think we have to burn out. I don't think it has to be that way. I think we can make steps to change some things. And for me, I'm going to say that, I use this. I'm going to show you. I think I've maybe talked about this before. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on this thing. I use a habit tracker, and this thing keeps me accountable like crazy, right? It looks like, no, we're not going to be able to see this situation. All right, you can kind of see it. This is really good. I'm doing a great job here. It's all these little circles. There you go. You can kind of see it there, right? And I have things like that. I noticed that if I do all of these things, and I'm a little wacky in this too. I'm not saying everyone has to do all this. I'm not even saying you have to do this. It might just be something you're able to keep in mind. But I like turning the little empty button to the green button and not putting a red button. So if I get up before the sun, right? I don't even have to say that I get up at 5. I get up at 6. I get up at 4, right? So my optimal is 4:30. But as long as I get up before the sun, I feel better about my day, right? I don't have it on here, but if I make my bed, I already feel better about my day. If I meditate and pray in the morning, which can take usually takes me about 30 minutes, which is a little bit long because takes over a lot of my morning, but it's important. But if I do that, I feel better. If I learn something every morning, right? So I'll listen to a podcast, I'll listen to an interview, I'll listen to something that I already have saved on YouTube, and I just listen back to it. That helps me. Things like right now I'm playing around and experimenting the last few weeks with intermittent fasting. So I'm fasting from 14 to 17 hours a day, taking supplements, getting exercise, taking probiotics, spending time with my kids, drinking enough water, not drinking alcohol, doing affirmations every morning or every evening. certain things that I do, I find just I am better. I'm even like really fascinated right now in the amount of sleep that I get. So like, am I getting enough sleep? So my deal with myself is I have to get 7 hours of sleep a night. It will mess up my whole next rest of my day if I don't get it too, right? Because then I didn't get up before the sun, and all the things kind of get shortened. Some things I can't do anymore. But it's if I go to bed early enough, I can get at least 7 hours of sleep. 8, I'm learning the older I get, is even more optimal for me. So if I'm getting enough sleep, I'm eating better, I'm getting some exercise, which could literally be a walk in a day, right? Like I have my own thing, but like it could be that easy. I just find that things don't bother me the same way. And I can tell you that when I don't do that, my life is significantly decreased. And how do I know this? Because I track, and this is another weirdo thing that I haven't talked about very much, but I track my life every single day, and I rate on a scale from 1 to 10 my life as a whole, my marriage, my relationship with my wife, my work, and my physical and mental health every single day. 4 being, oh my God, why did I ever do this? We should have never got married. We should have never started this business. Like I hate everything. 5, there's a teeny bit of hope. And 10 is you're the greatest that you ever felt. And I try to put 7 as little as possible because I feel like it's a cop out. So I'll tell you what that has done for me. Rating my day every single day allows me to stop myself when I go, God, everything sucks. I hate everything. It just feels like life sucks lately. I can literally look at the numbers and I can do 2 things. One, I can see that it doesn't suck every single day, right? Because I had like, oh yeah, 2 days ago I had an 8 day. Dude, that's 8. An 8 for a day is a baller day. It also allows me to see, oh, but I drank on date night the other night, and then on Saturday I was feeling a little funky, and I slept a little bit too long. I didn't get up before the sun. All the things I had to deal with the sort of like aftermath of that. It allows me to draw these correlations to see, yeah, doing all these things does make me feel better. When I'm not doing them, I don't feel better. And let me have this habit tracker, so I have the joy of hitting little green buttons all day and feeling better. I think that's part of it too. But it could also just be like you having fun, finding ways to have fun, finding ways to enjoy yourself, finding ways to do things that light you up. That really, really has an impact on your life, and not just chilling, right? Although that's needed sometimes too. I'm talking about doing something that is outside of the world of education that makes you feel better. And maybe that's learning something new. Take piano lesson, go take a pottery class, start doing hot yoga, which you'll hate, but it's good for you. How do I know? Because I was that guy. I was the old guy. There was actually one other old guy, but he wore Birkenstocks and had a long white ponytail. He looked like he followed the dead. He was really good at yoga. I was not. I looked like a clumsy drunk clown. Anyway, go ahead.
What a picture. All right, Summer Hayward is up next asking, what are the main differences between middle and high school? I'm moving to high school and possibly teaching English instead of history. Best tips.
Well, Summer Hayward, congratulations, because I love high school. I think it depends on what grade. 9th grade, I feel like, is the last year of weird for many students. It's the last year of like kind of I'm willing to be a little bit childish and do something and go along with something silly and fun. That tapers off as the year goes on. 10th grade, every 10th grade student comes back and looks at 9th grade students and goes, what's wrong with these kids? Reynolds, we weren't like this. Oh, no, you were. You all were like this. You just forget, and you just think that you were magically mature all of a sudden and things didn't bother you. But I live this life every year. So 10th grade's a little bit more like that. 11th grade is a year of anxiety for a lot of students because there's so much riding on that year with regards to SATs and college placement and things like that. Senior year is a little bit of anxiety mixed with a lot of apathy and like, they're just done. It's like, bro, we've been in school our whole lives. We're ready to get out of here and go to college. But I think I love 9th grade and 12th grade, I'm going to say, are my favorite. I like 11th grade because I like helping kids out with that anxiety piece. But 12th grade, you can have really good conversations. Kids are far more adult. They're getting ready to step into that next place. And as long as I don't give like regular generic, which I'm not known for, like advice, then that's really fun too. But I also love that playfulness, that kid spirit that's in ninth graders. That's really beautiful as well. And so yeah.
So she noted in the comments, it's either juniors or seniors. They're still not sure.
Yeah. So seniors are a little bit trickier, but I'll tell you what, in my experience, teaching seniors when I didn't know, even I wasn't even in the school, not that I didn't have to teach them before, but when I started teaching kids, when kids knew who I was, when they had a sense of my vibe of I had a bit of a reputation for the kind of teacher that I was, that definitely helped me out. So for me, it was a little bit trickier in the beginning, but that might just be the nature of my school. Like, I'm not saying that that's true for everybody. A lot of people just prefer older kids. They get tired. They can't stand the nonsense of younger kids.
Especially I feel like middle school. That's like that's a tough one.
And
there's a lot going on, lots of emotions
that.
And feelings. Right. Ninth grade is, I would say ninth grade is almost just like the last year of like middle school kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And you're that wacky that it fits.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's who are you made for?
Yeah.
Who's your assignment?
Yep, exactly. All right. That thrifty teacher is up next. I get nervous when admin comes in for drop-ins. How do you handle the nerves?
So, this is a good question. I'm trying to think of like a good answer that's not just like, I don't want to just take something that is. Let me say this. It didn't used to be easy for me. It's easy for me now. I don't care. When administration comes in, I just like, it does not worry me in the least. But it did before. It did before because I was worried that I wasn't going to be doing exactly what you wanted me to do. I was worried that you weren't going to give me a job back. I was worried that I was going to get a poor review. And what I found was that, one, a poor review has never, to me, right? This might be different in different districts, and I'd be interested to hear how different people are dealing with this. But I've never had a negative review. Like, I was never going to lose my job. I didn't, and like, if I didn't do something exactly the way you wanted me to, I always was interested in the conversation afterwards. So like, what I would do is front load the observation and say like, oh, hey, thanks for being here today. When I had a moment to walk in the back, look, we're going to be doing this, this, and this. If you could keep an eye on like this, and this kid, then I want to talk to you about it afterwards. And I'm really interested in what you think about this. So what I'm doing is I am giving them things to look at that I want them to be observing me on, because I want to be observed. And this is how I have found any success in my life, is by getting critical feedback from people. But sometimes I got to tell people, because otherwise you'll get an observation. They observe you on stupid stuff that doesn't help you get better. Like, are your objectives exactly written correctly on the board? Like, all the nonsense. Like, I once had a guy come into my classroom. I talk about this in my book, where I was getting observed by someone, and they told me I needed to have student work on the wall. And what he meant was that I needed to have a bulletin board with students' grades that like they got an A, B, C, D, or F. I had to have them on the bulletin board. But at that time, my entire classroom was covered in bulletin board paper, because we created the scene for Romeo and Juliet in our classroom. We created the Globe Theater in my classroom. The students created an exact replica of the Globe Theater in my classroom so we could perform Shakespeare, not just read Shakespeare. And what did I get? You don't have student work on the walls. My whole room is student work. Like, this doesn't even make sense. And so the reason you can't see that bulletin board is because it's behind,
student work.
Yeah. A balcony with ivy hanging from it, with a secret entrance behind. Like, come on, bro. So the other thing that shifted me was when I remember that all I'm doing is for kids. I'm not trying to get a good observation so that I can keep my job. If I'm getting observed, I want it to be so that I can help students in a deeper level. I'm not trying to do it so I can get a raise. Because I think if I do the best work that I can do, and I'm trying to really, really help kids, I'm trying to really connect with families, I'm trying to help people in my school and be a value add to my school, there's no way all that other stuff doesn't come. So I'm never doing it for that. I'm doing it because this is the best thing for these students. And if I ever have an observation and someone's not interested in that, they're just interested in crossing T's and dotting I's, I just like stop listening to you and start looking at the ceiling or something. But I think that confidence comes from I'm about kids. And when we're about kids, I think that helps us in those moments too.
All right, Laura's up next. Asking, what is one incident in your teaching career that you wish you could have a do-over on? That's a good question.
Oh, man. I immediately want to say super secret class trips. Those were a poor idea, but I wasn't sure at the time how to get around those. And if you don't know what those are, that's another thing I talk about in my book. I do not recommend them. But I used to get my class trips canceled all the time. Like last minute, I'd have kids waiting on the curb for the bus to show up, and they'd be like, and the school would just cancel my trips. And so I started doing trips where I told kids, look, I'm going to be at the train station at 6:00 tonight. If you're at the train station at the same time and you go to the same place that I do at the same time, I didn't really take you anywhere. We just kind of happened to be in the same place. And that is very dangerous. And I don't recommend it at all. So that's one. I think really, Laura, and I would have had to have been a better version of myself. It's anytime I just got mad at kids and like lost my cool in the classroom, whenever I yelled, whenever I have because everyone collectively decided to not bring their book, or no one did the project, or no one did the homework, or no one's paying attention, or no one's listening to me. And I would get so pissed that I would just lose it. And that is one of those things that might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help students. It doesn't prove my point. It doesn't make kids no one pays it. They're going to pay attention for the next 10 minutes because they're terrified because you just scared the crap out of everyone. And I dislike that is a part of where I've gone. Now, look, I still sometimes have that anger in me. What I've had to do work on is how do I transform that feeling into something that's actually useful? Can I still use that fire to do something else with? So that might be have a really direct conversation. We're going to have a conversation about this. I want to talk to you about this. What it did was it made me have to do more work on me when I saw how I was reacting. It had nothing to do with kids. I don't like to blame any of my behavior on kids, right? Kids are kids. I need to be a better person to be able to handle the situation. And I've seen teachers do that. And so for me, it was doing a lot of work. It was doing therapy. It was being a part, it was reading books. It was being a part of courses and things of that nature that helped me to grow into that version of myself that is ever and for always ongoing. So if you're asking yourself like, but I've done so much work already, I feel like that all the time. I get aggravated. There's a new thing. It's like you got to the top of that hill and you're like, oh, there's another one. Oh, come on. I can't, right?
You get angry at it.
I get angry at that stuff. But then I have to go, all right, here we go. Like, what am I going to do? I want to live on level 3, right? I want to live on the highest level of life. And I want to be the best teacher, the best business owner, the best parent, the best husband all the time. So it's like, I'm going to keep climbing that. And so I do get aggravated when I see another summit and I'm like, oh man.
But it really always comes down to personal growth.
It does. Absolutely.
All right. Jacob is up next, who we haven't seen in a minute. Haven't been on since the time change. Good to see you again. Any tips on students using AI to cheat? Yes. Came across this problem this week. Now I'm worried that more are using AI to write their stuff.
Yes. So I'm actually, this is a partnership I've made with someone. There is a company who I don't want to mess the name up. So I will make that video as soon as we get shooting. So we're shooting this documentary this week with PBS, and that is taking up an enormous amount of my week. As soon as that is done, that's going to be the next thing I talk about. There is an AI thing that it has this incredible way of detecting whether or not your students are using AI to write stuff.
Wait, so the teacher gets to use AI to detect if a student writes with AI.
And look, to be honest with you, dude, I've been using AI like I've been using ChatGPT for a million things lately.
But it's not just that. There's all kinds of
So I'm curious what comes out next with regards to how are we helping students to create chat GPT or use like AI or AIs, right? Like all the different AIs to create things. Cause I think it's a great jumping off point. I just don't think it's that good. Like whenever I've used it for things like even in business or in life, it's like not great. Like what we were watching this morning. I will say, Jacob, there's really good conversation about this. So I'm going to have an answer for you. I do not have it at this moment. It will be forthcoming, hopefully by the end of this week.
Well, the answer is basically you're going to use your own adult version of an AI software that's going to help you like minimize how kids are going to try and take advantage of it.
It'll be awesome. So but I would check out, I was listening to this week, and I'm hit or miss on Tim Ferriss, but I was listening to his podcast with Kevin Kelly, who's incredible. And you can even find the snippets on YouTube where Kevin Kelly talks about the future of AI and like where is this going and what are we using it for and things of that nature. It really made me start thinking about some really great projects for students that you could be using AI for. So it's like not just being scared of it, but it is like, and how kids are going to use it wrong. It's like, how about we should be diving into this with kids to see where are the possibilities too, to be able to help students and create cool learning experiences and stuff.
One of the things that I love who's the guy that was talking about it? Not Tim
Kevin
Ferriss.
Kelly.
Yeah, he said specifically about it was that it's not going to be perfect, right? We're still better and smarter than what the AI is that they come up with, but it's really just a jumping off point.
Yeah, he said it's kind of like if you owned a business and you hired an intern. That's what AI is kind of like. They do like some of the dirty work. They'll give you like the basic premise, the basic idea, the basic outline. They'll give you a first draft of a copy for something, and then you have to make it into something awesome.
Well, I even watched it was either a TikTok or a reel, and it was someone used Chat GPT, created an essay, wrote a whole essay, then they hired a teacher online, I guess you could, or hired someone to actually write the same article on the same topic, and then he gave it to a teacher and had a teacher grade.
Unbeknownst, the teacher didn't know.
The teacher did not know that one was a Chat GPT like AI service, and another one was like written by a real person. And they gave the Chat GPT one, I think, a C.
C, you said,
and then they gave the actually written one an A.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting too. Yeah. All right. Our next question. I gotta find it. Sorry.
Things we never thought we'd be dealing with as educators.
It's kind of exciting, but I like your viewpoint on it. How like you flip the script instead of like being just afraid of it. And all that,
it's this race that kids have sometimes to the most okayest thing, right? And okayest is a word that I made up. It's in the Reynolds dictionary, where like they're just trying to get it done. But I think in large part, we've created those kids. Like education has created kids that are willing to do good enough, because what's the reward for doing great work is more work. What's the reward for getting done early, right? For doing all of your homework or getting all your classwork done on time. Now you have 10 minutes left. It's like, what do you want me to do? Oh, here's more work for you to do. So we create kids that do the most okayest job. But the problem with doing okay is that leads to an okay life. And I don't want an okay life for my students. I don't want a life that's filled with like, you have an okay wedding or like an okay relationship, or you have an okay car, or you have an okay house, or you have an okay job, or you feel okay about yourself. It's like, no, you feel freaking awesome, man. And we have the greatest life that you could ever imagine, and have everything you dreamed of, and be able to go into the work and do great work. I think the world needs you to do great work, not okay work. And so if we are just typing in, write a essay about like, the views of good and evil of William Golding shows and Lord of the Flies or something like that. It's like, okay, it's okay. But like, it's not great. And so we're not like how we do anything is how we do everything. So get on it, bro, and make something great.
All right. This will be our last question, since we have to have a little bit of an abbreviated show today.
We do, because we're doing work on the house, and I have to go downstairs and help direct.
We're on it.
Like a foreman,
I don't really think that's it.
Just walking around.
We're on a time limit, and it's a mess. Okay, August is going to close us out asking, as my school's math rep, I've been asked to hold a meeting on info I learned at a workshop. Any advice for a first-year teacher nervous about speaking in front of seasoned vets?
So I think, August, that's a great question. And I often have felt like this when I go to speak places and I'm like, you're in the room with someone that's taught for 30 years. And I'm like, I don't have that kind of experience. But here's what they're not, what you're doing. You're reporting back, right? You're not telling anyone that it's the right way to do something. You're saying, I learned something. I'm excited about it. Let me share it with everyone. And because someone else might have gone to that same workshop, that same training, and then come back to the school and they're going to share something different. They heard something different. They picked up on different things than you did. There are often times that like my wife will be super stoked about like something she listened to, a sermon or something like that. And she's like, you gotta listen to this. You gotta listen to this sermon. Oh my gosh, so great. Ah. And then I listen to it and she's like, all right. Then we meet and we talk about it. And what she heard, I'm like, I don't even remember that part. I don't even remember oh, I heard them say that, but that didn't hit me like that. Even this morning, we were listening to, we were doing church online this week. And that part at the end that hit me so hard. You were like, oh yeah, I heard that, but it wasn't like that wasn't the moment for you. So August, what you're learning is that it in that workshop might not have been the thing that's going to hit everyone else. You're just adding to the conversation. And plus everyone gets the added bonus of like, maybe they don't like going to workshops, right? But they don't mind learning. It's like you read the book. You're just going to tell us what it's about. So we don't have to go through the pain of doing all this stuff. You're being like a positive value add to your school and showing up and doing something like that. So I think that I'm not better than you. I just went and did this cool thing and I want to tell you all about it. I'm so excited about this. I love this stuff. And so I'm going to share what I learned. And then that's what you do.
Yeah. Someone made a good point. I think it was Maisha. She said that you remember like even seasoned vets, like seasoned educators, they're still learning. It's like never ending. They're just because they're seasoned vets doesn't mean that they have it all down. And have all the
here's
answers.
The other thing, August, you'll learn as you get older is just because you're older doesn't mean you're smarter.
Yep, facts.
It's like, you'll see. That's all I can say. Like, as you get older, there are people that put the work in and there are people that don't. And so, and I'm not trying to diss anyone or like people have all kinds of different life circumstances, but like, if you're out there learning and growing and changing and getting excited about that stuff, I'll tell you what, the thing that's going to put people off is not that you know something that they don't know. It's that you are happier than they are. And so that really aggravates people. So it's just show up as a willing participant, excited to share what you've learned. And that's what I would do.
I had a thought. Oh, Maisha made a good point. She's if you did not get your question answered, don't forget to put it in the Facebook group because it's really such a great place and a great community that there's tons of answers, tons of people wanting to share and to help and to grow together.
Yes. And we will be back next week full time and hopefully not looking like this and like regular stuff. Yeah. So we are thrilled to be able to do that. So look, gang, I hope that you have a wonderful week. And I thank you so much for being here. And if some of you, your school year is coming to a close quick. And then us in the Northeast, now we roll.
Yeah, I think Lopez said they end on like May, like right in May.
You just made everyone from the Northeast go, oh. But we don't. We go back late.
No, this year I feel like they're ending early. School for our daughter ends on June 13th.
Philly's trying to go back early,
way earlier than normal. That's usually they're like the 18th. Yeah,
and they took away Veterans Day. I mean, come on, guys, come on. What are we doing over here? All right, gang. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week. That's it, gang. Peace.